Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. It's unacceptable, Ben Shephard. Heartbreaking update drops just a few minutes ago. Broke in our hearts, this news must see. The This Morning studio, usually a vibrant kaleidoscope of light, laughter, and the gentle thrum of controlled chaos, felt particularly alive that Tuesday. Kat Deely, perched elegantly on the iconic cream sofa, her blonde hair a sunlit halo, was in her element. Her infectious laugh echoed across the set as she and Ben Shephard playfully bickered over the merits of a newfangled kitchen gadget. The camera panned to a wide shot, capturing the bustling crew, the gleaming set, the sheer, joyful energy that defined the show's morning slot. It was comfort television at its finest, a familiar balm for millions waking up across the UK. "Honestly, Ben, you'll be telling me next you can boil an egg with a thought," Kat quipped, leaning forward, her eyes dancing. Ben, ever the affable foil, threw his hands up in mock surrender. "A man can dream, Kat, a man can dream. Besides, you'd be the first to try it, wouldn't you? Anything for a bit of gadgetry." The studio audience chuckled on cue. The segment producer, a brisk woman named Sarah, with a perpetually harried but kind expression, was mouthing cues from the control room, indicating the next topic, a light-hearted consumer rights piece. Everything was flowing, precisely as it should. The clock in the corner of the studio ticked towards 11:30 a.m., signaling the midpoint of the show, a perfect rhythm of news, views, and cheerful banter. Then the rhythm fractured. A shadow fell over Sarah's face. Her earpiece, usually a conduit for calm instructions, seemed to crackle with an urgency that stole the color from her cheeks. Her eyes, wide with disbelief, flicked from the earpiece to the set, specifically to Kat. She raised a hand, not to cue, but to halt, a raw, almost desperate gesture. The smile froze on Kat's face. She knew that look. It was the look that meant a segment was about to be pulled, a breaking news story about to hijack the agenda. But this was different. This wasn't a weather warning or a political update. This was personal. Sarah's lips moved, mouthing something wordlessly, her eyes pleading with Kat to understand. Kat's smile slowly faded. She looked at Ben, whose easy grin had also faltered, sensing the abrupt shift in atmosphere. The chattering of the crew seemed to dim, replaced by a sudden, profound quietness. The studio, moments ago a hive of activity, suddenly felt unnaturally still, as if the air itself had absorbed the shock. Sarah pointed to the monitor, her face pale. A single word flashed across the screen. "Urgent." Kat's eyes narrowed, trying to decipher the message that was not meant for public consumption. She saw fragments of text, snippets of a news alert. Her heart began to pound a frantic, illogical rhythm against her ribs. No, not illogical. Deep down she knew. She had a dreadful, cold premonition that stole her breath. She saw the name, Arthur. Arthur Sterling. The name hit her like a physical blow. Her vision blurred for a split second, the vibrant studio colors washing out into a muted haze. Arthur? No, it couldn't be. Not Arthur. Her hand, which had been resting casually on the sofa cushion, clenched into a tight fist, the nails digging into her palm. Her throat suddenly felt constricted, as if a large, unyielding lump had formed there, making it impossible to swallow, impossible to speak. Ben, noticing the complete change in her demeanor, leaned closer, a whispered question on his lips. "Kat, what is it?" Kat couldn't answer.
He was the one who always sent a text after a particularly challenging interview she'd done, simply saying, "You handled that with grace, my dear. Well done." Or a silly meme if she'd looked particularly flustered. He was a constant, gentle source of encouragement and laughter in a sometimes cutthroat industry. His passing wasn't just the loss of a colleague, it was the loss of a deep, personal connection. During the commercial break, the studio was a flurry of hushed activity. Ben wrapped an arm around Kat, letting her lean into him, offering quiet, steady comfort. Sarah, the producer, handed her a mug of tea, her eyes full of compassion. Other crew members, usually bustling, stood awkwardly, some with tears in their own eyes, having just absorbed the news themselves. Arthur Sterling was universally loved. We can go to something else, Kat," Sarah murmured, her voice soft. "We can just run a pre-recorded package. No one will blame you." Kat shook her head, pulling herself slightly upright. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, then took the tissue Sarah offered. Her breathing was still ragged, but a flicker of the professional resolve she was known for began to return. This wasn't any news. This was Arthur. And he deserved more than a quiet cutaway. He deserved to be acknowledged, to be mourned properly by the show he had so often graced, by the people who had loved him. "No," she whispered, her voice still hoarse. "No, Sarah. We have to say something. I have to say something. For him." Ben squeezed her arm. "We'll do it together, Kat. Take your time." She took a deep, shuddering breath, trying to regain some semblance of control. Her mind raced, sifting through years of memories, trying to find the words that could possibly encompass a life so rich, a personality so vibrant, a loss so profound. The pain was still sharp, a fresh wound, but a fierce determination was now overriding the shock. This was her duty, her honor, for Arthur. The commercial break felt like an eternity, yet it was over in a flash. The This Morning theme tune swelled again, but this time it sounded muted, almost mournful. The camera slowly panned back to the sofa. Kat Deely was back in her seat. Her face was still flushed, her eyes a little red-rimmed, but she held herself with a quiet dignity. The usual ebullience was gone, replaced by a profound sadness that was palpable even through the screen. Ben sat beside her, his expression somber, a supportive presence. The studio was utterly silent, the crew holding their breath. "Welcome back," Kat began, her voice low, a little shaky at first, but strengthening with each word. There was no pretense, no forced cheerfulness. It was just Kat, raw and real. We just wanted to address something that has just come to our attention here in the studio. And for many of you watching at home." She paused, taking another visible breath. A tear escaped and slowly tracked a path down her cheek. She didn't wipe it away. It felt right that it was there. "It's with the heaviest of hearts," she continued, her voice thick with emotion, "that we share the news of the passing of a true icon of British television, a beloved actor, and a dear, dear friend to many of us here at ITV and to millions of you at home." She looked directly into the camera, her eyes filled with a grief that resonated with everyone watching. "Arthur Sterling," she said, her voice catching on his name. "Arthur Sterling has passed away at the age of 87. A collective gasp could almost be heard across the nation. Viewers, many sipping their morning tea, froze. Arthur Sterling, the man who had been a part of their lives for generations. Arthur was simply one of a kind, Kat continued, her voice gaining a quiet strength, infused with genuine affection. He was a master of his craft, a brilliant actor whose performances graced our screens and stages for over 6 decades, from his early days on the theatrical circuit, to his iconic roles in classic dramas, to his much-loved appearances in comedies, and indeed right here on This Morning. She allowed herself a small, sad smile, a memory flickering in her eyes. But beyond the roles, beyond the accolades, Arthur was quite simply one of the kindest, most generous, most wonderfully witty souls you could ever hope to meet. Ben interjected, his voice equally solemn. He truly was. Arthur always had a story, a joke, a word of wisdom. He brightened every room he walked into. His warmth was infectious. Arthur nodded, his gaze drifting slightly, as if seeing Arthur in his mind's eye.